Western Samoa, tropical paradise, and an untapped fishery. On today's episode, we head south of the equator to fish with Captain Chris Donato out of Solani Surf Resort in search of billfish and inshore species along the reef. That's right now on Day One Outdoors.
Forecast showers and thunderstorms today with strong southwesterly winds to 37 miles per hour.
It's a numbers game, especially for the situation that we're in. We're coming off of a high water event here 48 hours ago. The outdoors is not a hobby. It's not our passion. It is our way of life. We make the perfect cast, slow our breathing to execute a perfect shot, spend hours researching locations and techniques. Regardless of effort, we fail. This series is not about incredible bites or trophy animals. Our goal here at Day One Outdoors is to educate our viewers utilizing new technology to offer a different perspective. Watch as we research new areas, plan out the day, and adjust to changing conditions. If not for other experienced outdoorsmen teaching me along the way, I wouldn't have this life. I owe it to them to pass this knowledge along. I owe it to you. Join us here on Day One Outdoors, and let's learn how to become more successful in the field and on the water from day one.
I actually bought into the original Solani and sort of started to redo it. That was around the time that I started to live here more permanently, which was around the same time that I met Shannon as well. And then we got married, and literally like a year after no, it wasn't even, it was a few months after we got married, a tsunami came through and took the entire resort out. That tsunami was, it was in September of 2009, and it affected the other islands, but really Samoa island chain was the hardest hit. Just this south coast was the area that was hit the worst, down to the east a bit. Down that area was really where it hit hard. Mainly it was off a fault line that I believe was about 120 miles or somewhere around that, offshore. The structures and everything that was on this property were completely gone. We came back to check it out, and it was just what was once a resort, like you see out, there was nothing here. It was just dirt and mud, and it was crazy. Came back here, rebuilt the place from scratch. We did it completely new, and then did it the way we wanted to do it. Made it a lot nicer. We wanted to step it up a bit, so we went through that, and then we reopened. That's when I started to restructure my fishing around here. Every place has their positive and negative sides. I think one of the biggest positives to coming to do big game fishing in Samoa is that it's really new. So you have that feeling of discovering, of like maybe what it was like going to fish some of the hot spots that are now hot spots back in the day. The type of fishing we're doing for big blue marlin, heavy tackle, doing this type of gear, it's new. For the most part, we really do we're kind of like a blue marlin operation, like we really do focus on them. Our biggest wahoo's probably been around the 95 or 98 pound wahoo. Mahi, they're usually around 20 to 25 pounds, but you get the occasional really big one here and there. And then yellowfin, we had one last year that was about 187 pounds.
Brandon, we're getting ready to start our first day out inshore fishing. I'll tell you what, this is a completely new fishery to me, not only because we're in Samoa, but because it's a warm water fish. The temperature is 85 degrees in the ocean. I don't even know what species of fish are out there.
I've never tried anything like this before, ever. Never tried fishing in a reef, never tried fishing shallow water like this, off the ocean. What do we do? I mean, who would have an idea of what to do?
Well, the way I want to start this out is we know that the water temp is warm. We know that these fish are active predators. So that means immediately in my mind, I'm thinking active fish cover a lot of water. So we want to cover a lot of water, but then we need to look at structure. What type of structure do you think we need to be looking for?
I heard it was a lot of coral, little reefs like that. We got some breaks out there, some waves breaking over the coral.
Sure.
So I'm sure it's going to push some bait fish around.
Right. To find a predator, we need to find its prey.
Yep.
So we need to find out where the bait fish is, and with tides, that plays an important role because it's going to stack the bait in certain areas. We know it's going to be a morning low, and pushing in all morning, that's going to bring a lot of that bait fish off the rollers inside the reef and push them up and on those flats. So it should be pretty darn good fishing. The fish should be active. And I think just inside the break line, off the edges of those rocks where the current's pushing over and around the sides of the corals and the rock piles, I think that's a great place for us to start. There's some bigger fish out there, but starting with the small gear, if we're getting in shallower water, I think that's a good place to go. Right now we're just using a basic bass rod with a tin roller on it from Hildebrandt. This is the Ace in the Hole by Yakima Bait. We know that there's some GTs out there. We know there's dogtooth. These fish are 15, 20, 40, 60, 80 pounds. There's some big ones out there. So we brought some big plugs too. And this one here is a big topwater. It's a stick bait, which is one of my favorites to use for largemouth bass back in Oregon and Washington. But for saltwater fish, I don't know. That's something I'd use for tuna, not necessarily an inshore species. We have 8 different techniques that we're going to take out there on the boat with us tomorrow. We're going to start at first light. We have no clue what to expect. We could be trolling, we're going to be casting, or we're going to be fishing live bait, trying to find bait. We're going to be all over the place. And it'll be really fun just to see how 2 anglers from the Northwest can put a pattern together for a fish we know nothing about, but just using our knowledge of fish to apply it to a new area. So I'm ready to go, man. The gear's set up. It's time to just get some sleep and get ready for an early morning. Well, here we are. We're heading out to do some inshore fishing, and Brandon and I, we have no clue what to expect. We brought the kitchen sink. We have at least 5 or 6 rods on the boat, 2 boxes full of gear, everything from live bait to jigs to plugs to stuff we use back at home. We're gonna start out by trying to catch some live bait, and then we're gonna go out to a buoy that we spotted offshore, just kind of see what we see. Look for structure, look for birds popping, and we're just gonna keep on changing up our tactics until we figure out a pattern. So we're gonna give it a shot and see how it goes. We're just pulling up in behind Chris's boat, the Leilani, right now. This is some good structure, calm water, a dock sitting right here, a lot of rope, so there should be some smaller bait fish in here. We're gonna see if we can't catch them with a sabiki rig. A little bit smaller bait than what I was hoping for, but it's a start, I guess.
You wanna give it a...
Yeah, sure.
Well, you know, it's a little tight out here right now, and we try to catch some live bait. Pretty slow, we got one little guy. We're gonna wait till the tide comes in a little bit more, maybe push some more of this bait up into this harbor. So we're gonna go out and kind of work ourselves out in the inshore, out to maybe the Fad, maybe a couple of the gulches out here and see if we can find something first. We'll come back in here a little later and try for some more bait.
What we're doing right now is we're looking for that buoy that's offshore. We spotted it from the shoreline, and we're gonna see if we can't come out here and fish that buoy. The buoys tend to hold a lot of smaller organisms, which bring in the predators. But on the way out, we're gonna troll. We're trying to cover some water again. We're trying to put a pattern together. So we're just kind of looking. Our captain here, Reddy, he actually just spotted some fish. Usually you see the birds working with the fish, but he saw some rolling. We're gonna nose right up over here. I haven't decided if we're gonna troll around them yet or if we're gonna cast to them. We're gonna kind of see what the fish are doing, see what their behavior is like before we make that decision.
Still hooked up, I feel very big right now, but we'll see what we got here. We're just pushing the boat.
Lost it. Bummer.
Oh, straighten out the hook.
Oh,
Yeah, something bit straighten out the hook there.
that.
So, well, let's get back to trolling and see if we can hook something else.
We're covering a lot of water, and we're trolling just outside the edge of the surf break. Brandon had a bite earlier outside, a little bit further offshore. Now we're coming inside just off this surf break. We see a little gulch up here. We're gonna try and fish each side of the reef as it drops off. And as we're going through here, it's actually pretty shallow right here, Brandon. We might need to watch our line so we don't get snagged up. Brandon's hooked up into a big wahoo. I really hope we don't lose this thing. It's one of the best eating fish out here. Holy cow, look at that thing.
That's not a water.
That's a big cuda. That's a big barracuda, ready?
Oh, he's heavy. Oh yeah, he's big. He's 50. Pretty cool. I hooked this fish right here, and we saw it jump out of the water. It jumped like twice, and we thought, oh god, wahoo, you know, because saw the big barbs on the side of the body. Yeah. But after we got it next to the side of the boat, we saw it had big teeth and different body shape than a wahoo. This is a big barracuda.
It's a huge barracuda, man.
It's got to be all of over 50 pounds.
It's big, man.
It's a good one. This is a great inshore fish right here, right off the brakes. You know there's got to be a lot of these swimming around. Look at the teeth on that thing.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Enjoy.
As the tide came in, we pushed inside the break line in search of active predators along the reef.
So we just saw a little bait fish swimming across the top of this reef, and Brandon made a cast out there with his popper, and right away he got bit. And what's really sketchy about landing fish in this is that it's all coral. If it touches anything, it's going to cut the line like that. So we're going through really shallow water trying to chase them down and get them real quick. Ow. They are sharp.
That was a lot of work. Lift that thing up. Lift that thing up. That's a beautiful colors on this guy. And we worked our butts off finally to get a nice bite. Hooked it, saved it from getting in the reef.
Nice way, nice,
Hey.
Good job fighting it, man.
Ooh, boy.
I just love all the colors on these
Look
fish.
at that beautiful blues and turquoise and brown with the background. Oh man, it's beautiful. Yeah.
The sun was beating down on us. We needed to take a break to regroup and plan out our afternoon over lunch to refine our tactics and continue our success inshore here in Samoa. Fishfield is your one-stop shop online for the gear you need here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. From salmon and steelhead, saltwater, trout and kokanee, even crabbing. Visit fishfield.com today to place an order with no sales tax and have the gear you need shipped fast. Fishfield.com, we have what the Northwest outdoorsman needs.
Every once in a while, a new lure comes along that catches every angler's attention. It could be because of all the irresistible colors and finishes, or the patented skip beat action. Or maybe it's the wide variety of sizes designed for salmon, trout, walleye, steelhead, mackinaw, and more. But just for the record, we know one thing for certain. We didn't design the maglip to catch fishermen. Yakima Bait Company.
Holy cow, look at that thing.
Yeah, he's big.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Brandon and I were able to begin putting a pattern together by landing a beautiful trevally and a huge barracuda. We wrapped up lunch, grabbed some more supplies, and headed out for the afternoon in hopes of discovering more of what Samoa's inshore reefs have to offer.
Brandon's hooked up right now, and actually right over here, oh, you just come off? Oh, just came off right there, but we got fish boiling all over right over here. The birds are on them. I see what looked like aku or skipjack tuna, so we're gonna put them back up. As soon as I was bringing mine in, I had a bite too, so we're gonna get right back to it. So we tried trolling for a little while. Brandon had a couple hits. I had a nice grab too. We ended up with that one mackerel. Came over here to this fad. They typically hold a lot of bait. It's a perfect place to find the microorganisms up to the bait, and the circle life gets completed by the predators, which is what we're after. So we tried casting a few topwater lures. Brandon's jigging right now. I'm gonna see if there's any smaller fish around this rope here going down the bottom. See if I can find some live bait and put it underneath the bobber. So put this out there right along the edge of the rope. See what we can find.
Nothing. So we're gonna try it again. Drop down into the bottom again. It's about 100, probably about 100 feet right here.
We fished that fad for, gosh, it had to been at least a good half hour, and not a bite, no bait on it. Couldn't even catch anything with the sabiki rig. So we're going back to what works. Brandon was getting bit really well with that sea tiger diving down 20 feet. I'm going to go back to my post cedar plug. I had one bite on it, which is very evident. So don't argue with the fish. We're going back to it. It seemed like most of our bites came about 50 yards away from the school of aku, the skipjack out here. So we're just going to do a couple circles around them, then head back towards the surf line and troll right off the break there and see what we can find in there. We know there's dogtooth tuna out here. I'd really like to catch one. Right now we can see the shallow areas right over here where the waves are breaking, and We want to stay just outside of it, right off the ledge, outside for safety's sake, and also because Brandon's lure that he's been getting bit on dives about 20 to 30 feet. So we're going to stay just on the outside of this ledge here, and there should be some really active predatory fish. Who knows what they're going to be though?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never know what you're going to find up here. We got incoming tide too, so it's going to start pushing all this bait up on top of this reef. So there's got to be some type of predator fish out here ready to snap these baits coming in here.
Just need to land one.
Yeah, need to land one. Okay, looks like we got something else on here. You know, Cody doesn't seem really big, but
I know I'm changing lures.
Yeah, hopefully this one stays on.
Did you lose it again?
I think so, dude.
Oh, man. Straighten the hook out again. Look at all the teeth marks on that thing.
Straighten this one out again. Yeah, I'm gonna loosen my drag a little bit here, and maybe that'll help keep them stuck. I might be ripping the hook through their skin.
Can't beat them, join them. I'm gonna try a little bit different color out there, at least something a little bit different from what you're using. But you keep on getting ripped, and we're coming up on that school again, so I'm getting this thing in the water.
After working the schools of small tuna, we pushed inshore in hopes of finding aggressive species of reef fish inside the break near the high slack.
So right now we're using a ace in the hole to red and white lure. Pretty much any species of fish worldwide, whether it's freshwater, saltwater, cold water, warm water, they'll always bite red and white. So good old standby color pattern. You can see fish swimming down here right off this edge. I don't have a clue if they're predatory fish or not, but we know there's fish here. Got to keep casting. No, he came off. So because this edge on either side of this reef and this cut is really steep, I'm gonna try and get a lure down there that's right off that edge. So I'm gonna throw a little diamond jig, and this is a little bit smaller presentation. We saw some jacks that were swimming around. I had a really nice long needle fish style bait, but you know, that probably didn't have a large mouth on it, so we're gonna try a little bit smaller lure, get down right off the edge of those cliffs, going down into this deep water where Brandon's fishing. So grab the light spinning rod and give that a try. Just headed the bank further. Oh, it's just right on that edge there. Came up and ate my top water. I'm gonna try and put it right back in there again. That was a good sized fish.
I mean, it could have been a couple 3, 4, 5 pound fish maybe.
Yeah. I got teeth marks all over my lure. My line's chafed up on the first 6 inches. Need to retie this here. That was a good fish. Obviously had a lot of teeth on it. That was a lot of fun. Time to retie. Silver and black or funky chicken?
You know, we gotta find them. Something bright is probably gonna help. So let's try funky chicken.
Deal.
You know, here it is. It's probably around 4 o'clock, 4:30 right now. We really haven't done a whole lot. Cody had broke a fish off. He had another one pop on his surface bait. Boy, we're having a tough go here. So we got to figure something out here. We got to make something happen before it gets dark. So we're getting near high tide. Maybe something will happen there on that turn. As of right now, we're kind of struggling.
It was a long day on the reef for us. Although we missed several bites, we were fortunate to come into a fishery blind and find success. Inshore opportunities here on the island go beyond the reef, with several small streams flowing into the ocean, hosting dozens of smaller species of fish. Now, it was time to wind down and rest up, because tomorrow we hit the salt in search of billfish.
Salmon swim up to 3,000 miles to return to their exact place of birth to reproduce. Well, most of the time.
After a successful day inshore, it was time to board the Leilani in search of billfish on the open waters of the South Pacific.
We're heading out on the water today, and we're going to talk about the gear that we're running. There's a lot of different techniques to big game fishing, and Ryan, we're running a 5-point spread right now. We got our 2 shorts, our 2 longs, and then our shotgun.
Yep.
Let's run through why we run each lure and each setup in each position. So let's start with the shorts. Tell me what rod, reel, line we're using, and what type of style head lure that we got on.
Right here we got our right short. This is one of the closest lures and rod and reel that we run to the boat. Got Chris's big old Lucky Braziliano. It's made by Black Bart here. This lure runs on the 3rd wave right behind the boat. Run this big lure right behind the boat because the bigger fish tend to swim closer to the boat. We're using a 130-pound line on a Shimano Tiagra 130 and a 80-pound Black Bart bent butt rod.
So the shorts are going to be fishing close to the boat with bigger lures just because the big fish tend to be a bit more aggressive.
That's the theory. And then around here in Samoa, we have a lot of other game fish, all the way from granders to 80-pound sailfish. So we have our smaller lures that will run down the middle on lighter line to be a little bit more sporting, you know.
So our shotgun, which is way out behind everything, that is a small lure that tracks just underneath the surface.
Yeah, pretty much imitates a flying fish or any kind of smaller bait fish that swim in the ocean. It's kind of like the candy bar of the sea.
What about our 2 longs, our right and left long? Where do they fish and why are they set up the way they are?
Our right and left longs, this is our right long here. This one runs another wave behind our left long, right about on the 6th wave. And it's kind of a medium-sized lure.
So when it comes to color on lures, does it matter much what color you're running depending upon the overcast or sunny day, or are you just trying to match the hatch with the bait that's available out here?
It depends on who you ask. But it's scientifically proven the marlin are colorblind, so I put out whatever I want. But usually, theory goes, dark days, dark colors, light days, light colors.
Gotcha. Now I know we're also running a few teasers as well. We got the mud flaps off the right and really big lures, what it looks like off the left. What is that off the left?
That is Extreme Breakfast. It's a famous lure made by Black Bart himself. Chris likes to run that thing.
And what's the purpose of the teasers?
Some people like to run teasers just to, the more fish you have in the water, the theory is, the more baits you have in the water, the more you look like a school of fish running through the water. So rip the teaser out of the water, and a lot of times they get even more aggressive and they'll eat the lure with the hook in it with a lot more force.
Drop back in the spread. I know I've fished big game in a lot of different areas around the world, and for the most part, people are running 130s off the shorts for the big fish, 80s off the longs, and then a 50 down the middle. I see you guys are running 130s all the way around and then an 80 down the middle. What's the rationale behind that?
Well, here, the famous saying goes, elephants eat peanuts. So even if you're running a small lure down the way out the back, you still got a chance of a massive marlin hooking it. Be real unfortunate if we hook a 1,500 pounder fish of your lifetime on an 80 or a 50, and the thing will break you off in about 20 seconds,
Well, looks like we're all set, buddy. We're just pulling out of the harbor right now, so let's get out to get the gear in.
All right, ready.
Generally, what I'm looking for, we're staring at the spread all day long, looking at the lures, in between looking at other stuff. But you really want to see, if you can see the bite or you can see the fish come into the spread, it's that much better, because what ends up happening is sometimes they'll come up into the spread and usually they're just like a little black shadow. It can fool you. Sometimes you won't see them, but sort of just keep an eye on it. And then sometimes they'll just sit behind the lure and they're either going to crash bite it, or sometimes they'll be real lazy and they won't eat it. So that's good if you do see them. You crank it out of the clip, reel it away from them, and or I can do a quick turn with the boat. Basically, I want to give the impression that that bait got scared and it's fleeing away from them, and then they'll usually pile on. And usually what's cool too is if you can see the bite right before they pile on, they usually light right up with like a purple color. The marlin, the stripes on their sides will light right up. The sails will usually flail their sail and turn real purple, and that's usually a good sign that they're about to eat.
We continued our troll as the afternoon tropical rain fell in search of our first bite. Birds were working bait, and we never lost hope. Then, as the storm passed,
There you go, he might jump. Here you go, get ready. He's coming at us. Oh, look how purple he is. He's a nice color. All right, you ready? All right, we'll go catch him.
we had tagged our first blue marlin of the trip. It was time to head in and make plans for the next day. The adventure has just begun, and our search for a pattern offshore is beginning to take shape.